What happened in Baton Rouge yesterday? Ole Miss has a 17-3 lead over LSU. These are facts. This is let the record show. Ole Miss had a 17-3 lead over LSU. I know because I saw it on the eye, Josh. I then did this, set it down, okay? So you can imagine my surprise when I see the final score and I think, wait a second, is that the wrong year? What was it, 2018? What was that, 2019? Nope. In the year of our Lord, 2022, LSU proceeded to go on a death march 42-3 run to close out Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss yesterday. LSU essentially watched our preview video where, true enough, we did predict the Tigers to win the game, and they proceeded to ignore every key that we discussed. Remember how imperative it was to not let Ole Miss get off to one of those fast starts like they had? Ole Miss had grabbed the lead in every game so far this year. Well, they did again. Remember how pivotal it was going to be for LSU not to fall way behind? Well, they did. And then they realized, I don't think it matters. I think that now's the time. You know, we got guys like Harold Perkins on the bench. Why don't we just play him? You know, Lane Kiffin's worst nightmare, apparently, if you listen to him in the postgame, he said they played Perkins. There's no one else out there quite like him. I didn't like that they put him on the field. This was crazy. This was really a night and day difference. But one of the concerns I had for Ole Miss, and one of the reasons we talked about last week that went behind me kind of leaning LSU, it wasn't some huge, like, best bet of the year or anything like that, but one of the reasons I really liked LSU is you can either get married to what teams' records are, or you can pay more attention to matchups. And in our world, we like to pay attention to the matchups. And one of the things, it's not their fault, but one of the things that Ole Miss had not been able to do is they hadn't been able to go into a tough road environment yet. It had been Georgia Tech and Vandy. And the other thing is they had not been exposed to high-level athleticism in anyone's defensive front. Even Kentucky did not really present the kind of athlete across the board that LSU did. And then they throw Harold Perkins in the mix. I mean, imagine if Mason Smith was still healthy for LSU. They lost him in week 1. Kind of frightening to think about now when you see the result elsewhere. Jackson Dart ended up looking like a deer in 8-lane traffic yesterday. I looked at the final stat sheet. I saw the amount of quarterback hurries they claim LSU had. I would double it. He was running for his life. There were grass stains on top of his grass stains yesterday. It was stunning that they were even able to function, and really after the first half they weren't able to function. Is this Jaden Daniels? What we saw yesterday, what we've seen the past 2 weeks really, is that LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels? Because if it is, friends, first thing I'd like to do is rewind to week 1 and play the season out with this version of LSU. I don't think they'd have a loss yet. Now, the second thing is he's put up 11 touchdowns the past 2 weeks. He's decisive. He's aggressive. There's no second guessing. He's not deer in headlights at all. He doesn't look like he's taking a split second to process things. He's not thinking. He's just reacting. In other words, when we go back to fall camp, remember it was Miles Brennan and it was Garrett Nussmeier and it was Jaden Daniels. Every one of them have their strengths. Every one of them have their flaws. If Kelly goes with Jaden Daniels, you're just going to have to suck it up and understand that there may be a little inconsistency. There may be a little hesitancy. Well, there was early. Not now. Look at the numbers yesterday. 21 of 28. He had 248 through the air. He had another 121 on the ground. Just 5 touchdowns. No big deal to go along with 6 last week. I mean, some guys are starting in this league and won't do that in the month of October. Some of them won't do it in the month of October and November combined. And there goes Jaden Daniels playing really good ball. And here's the good news. I know this updates week by week, but as of now, let's write this down. So here we are, Sunday, October 23rd. Brian Kelly is a good fit at LSU. Now, we got a bye week, so that won't change. Now, if he loses against Bama, he probably won't be a good fit anymore. And then we'll just have to wait. Does he go to Arkansas and do they win? If he does, he's probably a good fit again. And they'll probably beat UAB, and then he'll go to Texas A&M. So it's just a week-by-week thing. You know, these massive, overarching, 50,000-foot bits of opinion are changing week to week. So right now, yeah, Brian Kelly, forget about the accents, forget about whether he can or can't recruit. He is a good fit. And that's all we know. You know, those sorts of things change every week. No, they don't. I found out last week, not everyone picks up on the sarcasm of the show. No, no, no. We are very much speaking tongue-in-cheek Brian Kelly, we're believers. We always have been on this show. Bama LSU in 2 weeks looks a little bit more enticing, doesn't it, friends? You know what also happens that day? Tennessee, Georgia. Let me repeat for those of you in the back, or for those of you irresponsibly daydreaming when you're listening to the podcast version tomorrow. Bama at LSU, Tennessee at Georgia, same day. Same day. So if they tell you that a down week is upon us in college football, number one, take your casual stamp and hit them on the forehead with it. But then number two, after you've stamped them accordingly, because we have to out these people, tell them, show up next week, buddy, because we got a double dose in the SEC alone next week. The odds to win the SEC championship, it's Georgia minus 125, it's Bama plus 150, and listen, if you believe in the Vols, you got them at plus 500 odds there to win, not to make it, to win the SEC championship. I want to ask you one more thing. I don't know if you showed it already, Colin. Could you show Ole Miss's schedule one more time, I guess, if you already did? Interesting times here. They've got a loss they're coming off of yesterday, so they're 7-1. They're unbeaten no more. Here is the remainder of their schedule. Remember how their over-under win total was 7.5, and I took the under on it. Allegedly because I'm an Ole Miss hater. It's news to me every time I hear it, but whatever. So we got Ole Miss at 7-1. And this was always the draw. It was they were going to start fast, inevitably, and then they're going to get to this really, really steep grade. Do they build up enough speed where they can work their way up that thing a little bit? Well, they lost to LSU. They go to Texas A&M this week. They are an early 3-point favorite at Texas A&M. They got Bama at home the next week. They go to Arkansas the week after that, and they've got Mississippi State at home in the Egg Bowl to end things. All of those are losable. So, I mean, you could see this horrific slide at the end of the year, start 7-0, finish 0-6. It's unlikely, I grant you that, but that's always been the nature, and we were eventually going to get to this part. This is the deep end in scheduling. That's what they call the deep end. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.